What is going on, guys? What's poppin'? So today we are going to do the Week 9 game grades for the Dallas Cowboys against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Dallas. And I'll start out by saying that game went a lot better than me and a bunch of other Cowboys fans thought it was going to go, right? So let's go and jump into it, and which, by the way, it is a bye week, Week 10, so there's not going to be a video coming out every day the next couple of weeks probably, but I will put out some videos leading up to the Week 11 matchup against, I think it's the Minnesota Vikings, but we'll talk about that later more in the week, that kind of thing. So we're going to start out at the quarterback position, and man, it was a relief to see Garrett Gilbert come in there and play instead of Ben DiNucci, instead of Andy Dalton. And we're going to talk about that more later this week as well, because it sounds like he might be the quarterback moving forward still, which I kind of figured, which is stupid. But Garrett Gilbert played a really good game, and he was very competitive. And as far as score goes, I'm going to give a B, because he wasn't perfect, and he definitely made some mistakes. And the biggest one, of course, was the interception, where he threw the ball. He should have just taken the sack. We could have at least gotten points out of that, and that could have easily changed the complexion of the game. Now, at the same time, there was a receiver, and I'm trying to remember who it was. Maybe it was Gallup or Amari Cooper, who was blatantly held on that play. So, should the interception have stood? No, probably not. I think Garrett Gilbert saw it, and he was upset about it. But it is what it is. On this stat sheet, it turned out to be an interception, and we had some other calls go against us as well. So, I mean, that's just life, right? You can't control that. Got to worry about what you can't control. He didn't throw too many dangerous throws. I mean, we saw 4 or 5 at least would-be interceptions from Ben DiNucci. The defense just dropped. In this game, we saw maybe one really bad pass where I was just like, oh gosh, what was he? Where was he going with that, right? So outside of that, when the pocket was clean, he was really good, like very accurate, had a touchdown, all those sorts of things. When the pocket wasn't clean and the Steelers were sending 5 and getting pressure, I mean, he wasn't horrible. I'll say that. That's when he had the interception. That's when he missed some throws, but mostly off of his back foot, just trying to do a little too much. It didn't happen a lot, so I'm not going to really hold that against him for the majority thing. That's what keeps the performance from being an A. I mean, if he had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and just didn't miss a couple more throws there, he probably would have gotten an A performance from me as far as I'm concerned. So outside of that, I thought he was accurate. I thought he showed something, right? He had a little bit of an it factor, so that could be good moving forward, but it isn't going to matter if we don't see him play again. The guy's not getting any younger, and just throwing Andy Dalton back out to the wolves in 2 weeks is just annoying, but we'll talk about that more later. Next is the running back position. And guys, I know Ezekiel Elliott struggled, but he did have a hamstring injury, and now we don't know how long he's been dealing with that. So that's another thing that you could talk about for hours. So if I'm going to go too hard on him, I mean, obviously he wasn't super explosive, but Tony Pollard was. The offensive line at times was bad for running the ball. At times they were okay. I mean, I'm thinking notably Connor Williams seems to excel in the run game and not at protecting the quarterback. So I'm thinking Tony Pollard had 50-something yards. Zeke had about 50 yards. Zeke had about 18 carries. I think Pollard had half of that. And it's nice that we are involving Tony Pollard more and just giving him opportunities. So you could say C, C+, B-, one of those things. I probably would go under B, C+, maybe. And maybe that's being a little harsh because, I mean, we did have, almost 120 yards on the ground and 30-something carries. So it's not like we were averaging a ton of per carry, but we were getting the ground game established. And if you want to blame anybody, blame coaching for not keeping Tony Pollard in there longer and for using Ezekiel Elliott as much as we did, especially when he was struggling. And he also had a drop. And you remember me talking about Zeke as a pass catcher and as a receiver, which I just don't think he excels at. So that was frustrating. But anyways, moving on to the wide receiver position. And guys, none of these guys graded too well on PFF. I saw that. But I mean, if I'm being completely honest, was the wide receiver group horrible? No, outside of that one play by CeeDee Lamb, which, again, that's one of the plays where if we got back, we'd probably win the game. But at the end of the first half, the timing was just atrocious. I thought besides that, he played a pretty solid game. I thought Garrett Gilbert did a great job of getting the ball to everybody. So, Michael Gallup did okay. Amari Cooper was solid. But none of those guys were great. And CD Lamb, we could have said his game was really good, but that fumble was just bad, man. I mean, it just can't happen in the manner in which it did. So give that group, maybe around a C or something. They weren't bad. Everybody was involved. But moving on to tight end position, and man, Dalton Schultz really started to get involved a little more this week, and I really like what I saw out of him, not just as a pass catcher, but also in the blocking department. Both tight ends can help protect the quarterback, and when I say both tight ends, I mean Dalton Schultz and Blake Bell. And I think Kellen Moore's finally starting to make a couple adjustments here and there. He's starting to pick up on that, and he's using them a little more in the blocking game, and it was working out. And also, I noticed Tony Pollard had a couple pickups as well for protecting the quarterback, and he filled in kind of admirably. Now, I know Zeke does the main portion of that, and I've been noticed he's been kind of getting blown up a little bit lately as far as protecting the quarterback, but he does have a hamstring injury, so let's not forget that. I have nothing really negative to say about the tight end group. They weren't like out of this world or anything, but I would give them a solid B or like a B plus for how they performed, notably Dalton Schultz. But like I said, Blake Bell was there and the pass protection as well. Now moving on to offensive line, bag of mixed goods like it typically is. Cam Irving I thought was pretty solid at protecting Garrett Gilbert at left tackle. Now he did give up a sack, I think, but he wasn't horrible. Now moving on to Connor Williams, like I said, he's good at when you're trying to run the ball behind him, he's okay. When he's trying to protect Garrett Gilbert or whoever the quarterback may be, defense is just running Connor Williams right into the quarterback. So moving forward after this year, I look at Connor Williams as more of a depth piece. We need to get a starter at left guard. It ain't him. Maybe he can play tackle, but he's not a starting left guard in the NFL, in my opinion. Center position, and something I failed to mention about Garrett Gilbert is we found out just before the game, just before kickoff, that Joe Looney would be filling in for Tyler Biadasz at center. I forgot what the injury even was. It might have been hamstring or something again. But Joe Looney was not great. Would I say he filled in admirably considering he didn't know all week he was going to start? Yeah, I would. There weren't a bunch of like mishandled snaps, that kind of stuff. And also, you got to give even more credit to Garrett Gilbert for that, because he'd been working all week probably with Tyler Biadasz at center and maybe Joe Looney at guard. I'm not even too sure what was going on in practice. But then to have to change that right before the game started, I thought both of them filled in very admirably. Now, did Joe Looney play as good as Garrett Gilbert? Heck no, he wasn't great. But he filled in. Now, right guard, Zach Martin was obviously very solid. I don't know if this was one of his best games or anything like that, but he definitely wasn't. I mean, he was definitely the best offensive lineman, which we would expect him to be, right? And on the flip side, we got Terrence Steele, right tackle, who was, again, just awful at everything. Now, overall, I'm giving that offensive line like a C or C+. I mean, they allowed the offense to be competitive throughout the game. So, bravo for that, right? Now, moving on to the defense, which was also a bag of mixed goods. We have defensive end, which was awesome, led by DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory, and we didn't get any sacks all day, but we did get 8 pressures, I believe, and I think 5 of them was by Randy Gregory. A couple of them were from DeMarcus Lawrence, and they were also very good against the run, and I think it kind of goes understated. I think the jury's out on, well, I shouldn't say the jury's out. I think people know that DeMarcus Lawrence is established one of the best defenders in the NFL at defensive end against the run. Randy Gregory, not so much, but he is very good against the run, and he showed a lot of that in this game, so that was good to see. Tyrone Crawford at defensive tackle didn't have the worst game in the world. I'm kind of forgetting Antoine Woods, but I remember him making a couple plays here and there, and Neville Gallimore is the one that stood out, and especially in that first quarter, the first half, but throughout the game, Neville Gallimore looked like a solid starting defensive tackle. And guys, if we could see more of that, that would be awesome. Now, I keep forgetting that my job here is to give out grades. So let's say defensive end, well, I mean, we had no sacks, but we had plenty of pressures. I'd say B plus, A minus. defensive tackle for what we're dealing with our personnel, I'd probably say a B. Linebacker position, definitely a mixed bag of goods. I would say a C, but Sean Lee was arguably the best player on the field all day. He was great at everything. He was good against a run. He was good in coverage. Good, he kind of did a little bit of everything, flying over the field, making plays. I thought Van Der Esch was very solid against the run, but not very good at anything else. I think he's still trying to get his footing, and he struggled a little bit, but he definitely contributed. He wasn't god-awful. Now, Jalen Smith, mixed results with him. He was decent against the run at times, but man, I got to say, he had 2 penalties, which there were ticky-tacky calls, like 100%, especially the roughing the passer one. But those and by the way, Leighton Van Der Esch had a bad penalty against him too, where I'm like, dude, you could have just avoided that altogether. Was it two-sided? Yeah, should have been on both teams, maybe, but we could have avoided it, right? And so that's on Van Der Esch. And then the 2 calls on Jalen Smith really, I thought, just gave away the game. So frustrating there, maybe even like a C- or below, because Sean Lee was very good. Everybody else was frustrating. Now, the defensive back position, it was all, and again, you're going to have to say, you could give a D or a D+, because the group in total was really bad, but the one player that I thought really stood out was Trayvon Diggs, and he did get hurt during the game, and the secondary just fell apart after that. And you could even argue Savion Smith was better than Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis. That's how bad they were. But Trayvon Diggs was good in coverage. He made tackles. He was competitive. He did more of what we saw out of him. He was in the right spot one time to make a pick. I know Donovan Wilson got his hands on it, and he just couldn't make the play. But more good things out of Trayvon Diggs. So grade that defensive back position how you will. You got one guy doing really good and everybody else not so much. Hopefully we move on from like Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis, or at least one of them in the offseason. And did Chidobe Awuzie not play? I'm not remembering seeing tape of him, not remembering seeing grades of him on PFF, not remember seeing stats, anything from Chidobe Awuzie. So I might just be missing on that. That might be my error. If I am, then leave me a comment saying so. Next, the safety position, and so it's another thing. Xavier Woods was pretty bad on a couple plays. He gives up some big plays, I think, where he just missed tackles. I think was the note I took with Xavier Woods. But Donovan Wilson stepped up, should have had an interception, overall had a nice game, looked like a legitimate starting safety in the NFL. And so that was good to see, right? I was excited for Donovan Wilson. Hopefully we could get more play like that out of him moving forward, and hopefully Xavier Woods kind of picks it up, because I thought Woods was okay against Philly, not so great in this game. If you're going to grade safety, I mean, C+, that kind of thing. Like I said, I would give Donovan Wilson at least a B, and I would give Woods like a C or C- or a D. So next, special teams. And gosh, I'm trying to remember the special teams plays now. I remember special teams doing some good things. Off the top of my head, I'm not picking up on what, but I remember we had one creative call on special teams. Did we not have one good kick return or something like that? And I don't think Greg Zuerlein missed a kick. We did have a backup punter, and that didn't come back and bite us or anything with Chris Jones out due to injury. So I'm leaning towards giving special teams like a B or an A. But like I said, I'd have to really follow up on that, because that's one position where I'm not really qualified to grade off the top of my head today. But now we're going to go over the coaching outside of special teams coordinator. Offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. I think this was a C+ to B- performance. I think it was definitely a major improvement over what we've seen at other parts this season. I know some people were really rough on him against Philly, but man, we kind of had to be like the Harlem Globetrotters against Philly to even have a chance to move the ball. This week, I thought we did some things right. I thought we got rid of some stupid screens and stuff that just flat out weren't working. When it comes to towards the end of the game, I thought that's where, and when our last couple of drives, just trying to move the ball, that's where Kellen Moore just made some really bad play calls. But outside of that, I thought he was just okay. Mike Nolan, man, I'm pretty high on him right now, so I'm gonna definitely give a B to Mike Nolan. And Mike McCarthy, as far as just the whole team goes, I mean, he put things together. The team played hard, and they competed well. And outside of a few bad penalties and a couple mistakes here and there, we definitely should have won against the number one team, the only undefeated team left in the NFL. So call that what you will. I think the whole coaching staff deserves like around a B. But that's just me. So if you agree, if you disagree, whatever it may be, definitely like and comment your opinion. And I'll be sure to check them out and respond to that sort of thing. But besides that, guys, I just want y'all to smash that subscribe button for some more, I say, daily Dallas Cowboys content. It ain't going to be coming every day, but most days I think you'll be getting some good content out there from me. And that's it. I'm out. Peace.